plants in there and get things established.
Because I was trying to think of what the operational costs would be, and I assume the operational costs are the day-to-day management of that particular area, which would offset implies that it's going to cost more than 36,000, which had me gobsmacked because I would have thought it would cost 2,000 to allow a person an extra hour or two a week to do the weeding of that area.
Just through Mr. Chairman, it is actually for the management of the birds and the.
I understand that,
yeah.
Steve. But it perhaps needed to be
So,
more carefully wordsmithed. Yeah.
So, Mr. Group Manager, can you assure Councillor Cameron that what you've just said will be cheaper than the running cost presently?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Further questions? Councillor Lovett.
Just asking about the birds in the aviary. Is it are they going to be easily rehomed, or are we going to be left with the decision?
Through the chair, I think there's been some preliminary contact with Timaru District Council, and they are happy to rehome the birds, so it shouldn't be an issue. At first, we'll probably try and return the birds to people that may have donated them, give them the first right, and then. But rehoming shouldn't be an issue.
Okay. Further questions? Councillor Rawlinson.
If there's no questions, I'm happy to move the recommendation to Council that the aviary be closed at the end of the current contract term, being 29 March next year, that staff work with the aviary contractor to begin a reducing rehoming program with guidance by the SPCA, and that the site is redeveloped in accordance with the domain development plan. And I'm quite passionate about this. I know there are people who like taking little kids to look at the birds, but every time I've been to look at the birds, I think the whole place is not attractive, and I think we could do a lot better.
Okay. Do we happen to have this Councillor Cameron?
Second.
Second. Discussion, councillors. Councillors, I'm actually quite excited by this move because this is the first start of the redevelopment of the domain, which follows a very rigorous public consultation system, of which we actually changed many parts of that to accommodate the wishes of the people of the Ashburton district. So I will be voting in favour. Any further discussion? Right of reply to the mover? Okay, all those in favour of this recommendation to Council, please say aye. Aye. Those against? Unanimous. Thank you, councillors. Now move to a difficult subject. Cemetery fees and charges. Steve, do you wish to, Mr. Fabish, do you wish to put into context why these are here? You had some good words the other day when we were chatting about it.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, as you know, Council's opened the new cemetery block, the extension, and we actually don't have fees and charges for that new section that relates to the actual cost of the plot plus the burial for the Muslim area. The main reason for that, as the report shows, is the plots are wider and of course taking up more land, so of course the fee has to be adjusted. So that's why we've brought this report back to the committee to consider the fees and charges for the new area, and then to also roll out in some areas of the district where we're going to a wider plot. There are some interments already occurred since the opening, but until we've brought a report to Council, we've just charged our normal fee. So what we have done and put in place though is ask people that are wanting to reserve the plot that we will pencil in those plots, but we will not charge the fee until it's come to Council because there's potentially going to be an increase. So that's been put out there. You will notice in the report there is a new fee for the Muslim burial area, and it is got an additional fee there for the interment, but that is around the amount of extra time taken to prepare the site to meet the requirements of Muslim burial. So currently, as you know, all Muslim burials are taken back to Christchurch. So it means that Muslim people in our district can now be buried here.
Thank you. Mr Mayor?
Just the $1,657 per site, how do you get to that figure? There's one question, I have another after that.
Okay, I'll pass that back to Bert just to clarify.
So we've, through the chair, we've increased the purchase of the plot fee from 14.21 to 16.57. And then that increase reflects or matches the increase in the plot width. So in the new cemetery, the plot widths are no longer 1.2 metres wide. We've got a growing population. They've been increased to 1.4 metres wide. So that proportion will increase. So we've applied to the fee, and that's brought it up to 16.57.
Is there any correlation between what it cost us to develop that cemetery, the price of the land, whether it's sitting on relating, and the number of plots relating back to the 1,657? Is there a correlation there?
Yes, through the chair, it does correlate with that fee. I've done some calculations. It's pretty hard to estimate because there's some assumptions around that. We've got some vacant areas in the new cemetery extension, which we haven't developed yet. It may go to natural, may go to Muslim, it may go to conventional. But yes, the fees do, with those assumptions, correlate to that cost of development.
And I don't see it here, but I wouldn't say it's not. Is there a comparison with our neighbours on what the Selwyn or Timaru or even Christchurch charges?
Yes, through the chair, we've for the Muslim and natural burial areas and the fees that we're proposing, we've done a comparison with about 10 other councils around New Zealand, and those fees are within the ranges that those other councils charge.
When this goes to council, I'm sure it will, could that be included in the report, the comparisons with our neighbours? Because I'm still thinking it's quite cheap, but could be persuaded with a bit more information.
You seem to have a yes with the nod.
Yep. Great, thanks.
Okay, Councillor Brahm?
Yes, sorry, my question was basically similar regarding the cost. Because I understood we are quite cheap compared to other districts around us. And if that's the case, why are we that cheap? Are we not charging enough, or what is the reason for it? But it might be coming down to council.
Mr Peppish?
Just through you, Mr Chairman, just to answer that, one thing to reflect back to the Section 17A review that we did on open spaces, we actually use our own staff, whereas a lot of the comparable councils for these services use a contractor with contractor markup, digger hire, etc. So we are actually able to often provide a cheaper service because of that in-house delivery.
Supplementary?
If I can, another question then. So the cost is being covered by those rates?
Definitely, yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay, Councillor Rawlinson?
Thank you, and I understand this part of it and why you're doing that, quite okay with it. My question is, the 1657 for a plot, is that now going to apply to all the cemeteries in our district? Is part A of my question.
Through the chair, no, only the Rakaya, Methven and Ashburton cemeteries, because they're the only cemeteries that actually provide a concrete beam.
Thank you. And the second part of my question was the cremation plots, are we increasing those too or not? I know they're not mentioned here, but that was because I was wondering if this was an overall increase.
Through the chair, we're only trying to set fees for services we're not currently offering.
Cool, thank you.
Councillor Cameron?
Just a quick question, but are there many people from out of the district opting to be buried in the district? Because that would be a reflection of whether the fees are more attractive.
Mr Peppish?
Through you, Mr Chairman. We don't have those figures right in front of me, but we do charge an out-of-district fee, which, if I recall, Bert, I think is about 1/3 dearer to, one, discourage it, but also that our ratepayers are not subsidising any activity outside. So
I'll just adjourn the meeting for a minute. It's getting pretty hot up here. Someone trying to cook us all. Thank you. Okay, I'll reconvene. Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, my question is, the 1657 buys you the plot. Who pays for maintaining the plot, not the plot itself, but around it, the roadways, the mowing, etc., etc.? Who funds that bit?
Okay, up through you, Mr. Chairman again. So the person that actually has a warrant for that plot, they actually don't own the plot. All they own is a right to inter. So the land, you could say, is still with council, but the family have the right to inter. They pay for the full interment costs to actually put the deceased in the hole. Bert, you may correct me, but I understand the maintenance of the cemetery site it comes out of general rates. Is that correct? Yeah, it's not linked back to the individual's internment.
Well, whether it should or not could be a question for the long-term plan process. So you would like it brought up at the long-term plan? We record it and ask that it does so? Yes. Okay.
So again, just through you, Mr. Chairman, just to clarify that, so what you're asking is you would like to know what the fee and charges would be if we go to full cost recovery, which is, it's not to say it's common in New Zealand, but I know other councils have done that, and the fee is potentially double to even triple to to get to that mark. But we can do that calculation.
We've got to have the information anyway.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Councillor Wilson.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Yes, my question regarding ashes, we've got new beams, a new setup for the ashes interment. Are we going to make the same cost as it already is? We're not making any allowance for the new setup?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I understand that's correct, but that is for the ash plot. But bear in mind, what we do allow is an interment, actually a double interment, I think it is, plus I think it's up to 4 sets of ashes in a plot. So you actually can get a family plot. So there is a cost-effective way of families still having interment of ashes.
Supplementary? No? Okay. Mr. Mayor?
Separate question, but relevant, I think. Once someone's been in the cemetery for 50, 60, 70, 80 years old, and I've had some requests come to the Mayor, no one looks after the old graves. And should we look at something in the long, when we get to the long-term plan, look at that that area of neglect? There could be 100 years old, those graves, and the families have all gone, and they're just being neglected. And I've had some people see me about who's looking after them, and at the moment no one is. So perhaps it's a long-term plan thing.
Through Mr. Chairman, it's a good question, and I've I've been met with several families, even one particular family in this area, with the same with the same question. The headstone tends to be and the concrete surround tends to be what gets into disrepair. That's actually owned by the family, not owned by council. So what we tend to do within a cemetery is if it's a health and safety issue with, say, a headstone, if we can't get hold of the family, we may lay the headstone down to make the site safe. Our staff do go through on a regular basis and top up the where there's been some slumpages. We try and do that on an annual basis, but we can't do it all every year, so we do it as part of a program. But that's probably about the extent that what council actually does. One, make sure the site is kept safe, and work with the family if we know them to look after them.
Councillor Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just clarification. How long is the plot staying in the family?
Forever.
So, sorry, through Mr. Chairman. So again, typically in New Zealand, unlike in overseas, it's in perpetuity, so it stays there with the family. Yeah. The only side part of that is if a family has a reserve plot and they decide in years to come not to use it, they can then sell it back to council. But no, it stays in perpetuity.
Mr Mayor?
Yeah, I think it'd be good to have the discussion, our long-term plan time around it. I think, was it Wellington City have just changed theirs and caused a wee bit of controversy up there too. Not saying we should do that, but I think we should have a look at it. Yeah.
Councillor Wilson?
Thanks, Mr Chairman. Yes, what happens to a plot that somebody has reserved but never used? There's obviously some blank plots in the cemetery.
So again, through you, Mr Chair, the family has the option of actually selling it back to council if they don't wish to use it in the future. But otherwise it can stay in that family ownership for decades. They've reserved it, they've paid for it, so yeah.
Okay. Further questions? Is it possible to have a mover? Councillor Cameron, how about a seconder? I'll take another bid.
Well,
The auctioneer's not here. Councillor Rawlinson.
There is a light showing. We've got a light showing.
Sorry, Councillor Brown.
Thank you.
Further discussion? Debate? So all those in favour that council adopts the cemetery charges and fees proposed in table 1 of this report, all those in favour please say aye. Aye. Those against? Carried. Thank you, councillors. That brings us to the end of the public session. And can I have a mover and a seconder that we move into committee, please? Public transacted with public excluded. Move, Mr Mayor. Seconded, Councillor Cameron. Sorry.
No, it's, God, gee. I'm going home. I'm going home.
Haven't had enough practice lately. Yeah, all those in favour, please say. Oh, have I got a mover? Yes, Councillor Cameron. Seconder was? Who was? Mayor. That's right. So all those in favour, please say aye. Those against? Carried.